I'm Taylor Polk, and I'm the owner of SecondHand Time on Etsy, and I repurpose old electronics and turn them into clocks. When people see clocks that are like this, they notice how unique they are, how different they are from what you would think of when you think of a clock. You think like a circular object with the numbers and everything, so I sort of have a different take on what a clock should look like. I mostly make the clocks out of different parts from old computers that you can find at yard sales, or that people are trying to get rid of. Friends of mine don't want their old video game systems. I take them and I just look at them and just sit around and just think about every once in a while, what can I turn these into? How can I make it into something else? And I've come up with clocks made out of old PlayStation parts, out of old Nintendo 64 parts, out of old hard drives, floppy drives, CD drives, old circuit boards. And everyone that's seen them seems to appreciate the unique quality of what they're made of and what they are. So I started making the clocks when my boss a few months back decided to get rid of some old hard drives. And instead of just throwing them away, he asked me if I wanted to go find a place to recycle them, and I asked him if I could just try to find something creative to do with it. And I thought that turning into a clock would be kind of interesting. So I did some research, took it apart, and was able to make it into a clock, and that was the first one that I did. And then from there I just started going to yard sales and finding more of them for super cheap, and started turning them into clocks. I find most of the parts that I use at yard sales, so on a Saturday morning I'll get up early and just go drive around looking for yard sale signs, and just stop at different yard sales in the area and sift through all the stuff that's out there, and every once in a while I'll get lucky and find an old computer.
Hard drive, floppy.
I look for old devices like old computers, old video game systems, old video games, old controllers for video games, because they have sort of a retro timed feel to them as opposed to new devices which don't have that same effect. I look for things that sort of remind people of when computers were just starting out, or with devices that aren't made anymore or aren't used anymore. So instead of them winding up in a landfill, I try to find something new and creative to use them for.
Or both.
After making so many clocks, it's fun, and it's fun to come up with different ways of creating them and what they could look like. But it's also interesting to see what other things I can turn into what other stuff. Moving forward, I hope to incorporate different electronics and create new pieces that I haven't thought of yet.